Uzbekistan and South Korea. It's the game no one really wants to play, but at least in Asia there is a prize at stake. Automatic qualification for the 2015 Asian Cup to be held in Australia, the prize for the winners. But the two teams can be forgiven for not wanting to think ahead. Both are probably still thinking back to what might have been in their respective semi-finals. South Korea, of course, out on penalties after a nerve-jangling affair against Japan. Uzbekistan thrashed so badly by Australia that their coach has issued not one, but two public apologies. So national pride for Uzbekistan is perhaps their main motivation, while South Korea will want to at least match their performance 4 years ago when they also finished thirds. In fact, this is the third time in 4 tournaments the Koreans have been involved in this third and fourth place game, and they have won the previous 2, so perhaps that is an omen for what is in store this evening. The Korean fans have stayed loyal, here to cheer their team on, even if it's not quite the game they wanted to be watching. They'd have preferred, of course, to have been involved tomorrow. A big showdown at Khalifa Stadium that will decide the trophy itself. That game instead will be played between Australia and Japan. And as for Uzbekistan, well, they've never been this deep into a tournament before, so they can rightly look back with pride on for what for the most part has been a terrific tournament for the White Wolves. Only the aberration against Australia really spoiling the experience for their supporters. So here come the flag bearers, the Asian Football Confederation flag leading the way. Then the fair play flag. And finally, the two competing nations, preceded by the referee and the officials. Uzbekistan against South Korea in the third and fourth place playoff, the penultimate game here at the 15th Asian Cup at Al Sadd Stadium in Doha. The two teams have lined up. We're not going to have the national anthems just yet because there's going to be a presentation, we understand.
Ladies and gentlemen, we now have the pleasure to invite السيدات والسادة. يسعدنا الآن دعوة the AFC President سعادة رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي لكرة القدم His Excellency محمد بن همام. AFC Vice President نائب رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي لكرة القدم Mr. Ganesh Thaba. President of the Uzbekistan Football Federation,
leading the delegation out to meet the players and the officials. He's just been elected, of course,
Vice President of the Korea Republic Football
head of the regional body. According to most press speculation,
Mr. Lee Hoi Tai
may well have a tilt
to be
at the big job
introduced to the
itself.
players of the teams and match officials. يصافحوا لاعبي المنتخبين وحكام المباراة.
He is on the AFC leader to at least pose a challenge to Mr. Blatter. He's been in the Qatari press this week as saying that he feels his country has put on a good show at this Asian Cup. It's probably difficult to argue that. Some question marks about the size of the crowds for some of the games, but the organisation of the Cup has run smoothly. The stadiums have been absolutely perfect. Of course, this place will be virtually unrecognisable in 11 years' time when the biggest event in the World Cup, comes to these shores. So the greeting party makes its way to one side.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we will pause
please
for the
rise
national
for the
anthems.
national anthem of Uzbekistan. السيدات والسادة نرجى الوقوف عند عزف النشيد الوطني لمنتخب أوزبكستان. And now, the national anthem of Korea Republic. والآن مع النشيد الوطني لمنتخب الجمهورية الكورية الجنوبية.
Meaningless to some, a chance to claim bronze to others. The third, fourth place playoff game has plenty of critics, but it can sometimes provide plenty of goals with the pressure off. And today there's a significant prize on offer, that of qualification for the next World Cup, or Asian Cup I should say. Now the Uzbekistan team list shows 6 changes, only one in force through Bakayev's suspension. Esterov returns in goal, Gainrik, Andreev, Tursunov, Molajanov and Abramov's protege Novkorov are all included. The veteran Viktor Karpenko wins his 50th cap. And South Korea make just 2 changes. Park Ji-sung is left out, which probably means we've seen the last of him at international level. And defender Cho Hong-young drops to the bench. Hong Jong-ho will play in midfield, and Lee Jung-soo returns in defence at the ground where he plays his club football for Al Sadd. Also be the last time we see Lee Young-kyo, who of course will retire after this game. Referee is Abdul Malik from Singapore, assisted by his fellow countrymen Jeffrey Go and Haya Maidin. The 2 captains, Cha Du-ri in Park Ji-sung's absence for South Korea, and Server Japarov of Uzbekistan. He's just been shortlisted for the Most Valuable Player Award at this Asian Cup. The winner of that will be announced after the final tomorrow. Slightly shorter bench for Uzbekistan. Bakay, of course, is suspended. Sarkov, Jurev and Vagiz Galyulin are not included. And the only man left off the Korean team sheets is the aforementioned Park Ji-sung, who has been carrying an injury. And I'm sure Sir Alex Ferguson, his Manchester United manager, will have preferred that he is left out of this game. Vadim Abramov has challenged his Uzbekistan players to produce their best game of this tournament, to put to bed the memory of that horror show against Australia. As for Cho Kwang-rae, well, he says injury prevention is his first concern after 2 training games that of course went to extra time in the knockout phase. So we're all set. Game 31 at the Asian Cup, the third, fourth place playoff. It's Uzbekistan against South Korea. Called by some the what-if final, but down the years there have been some memorable games. 4 years ago, South Korea had their then coach, Pim Verbeek, sent to the stands in this match, so it is an encounter, Andy Harper, that can still arouse the passions.
It is, as you said, Simon, a match for which there is little anticipation, but very often the game delivers.
Well, let's hope this one delivers. And let's see what sort of a delivery server Japarov has from this corner kick. Uzbekistan in all white. Alexandra Gainrich back in the starting 11 today following injury. This is Viktor Karpenko's. It's played short, headed clear by Hwang. And South Korea get the chance to build through the very impressive Ki Sung-young. This is Lee Young-pyo, his 127th international and final game for the Taeguk Warriors this evening. Cha Do-ri, who's wearing the armband in place of Park Ji-sung. Might have thought they would have given the captain's armband to Lee Young-pyo, given it's his last game, but not so. This is Novkorov. Now Gainrich. Odil Akhmedov, who's had a terrific tournament.
Yeah, he certainly has, Simon. There's a superstar player. Had a good tournament in a team that just so collapsed in the semi-final. Disappointing as well. They're playing for enormous amounts of pride today. Uzbekistan is indeed the Korean Republic. Might be question marks as to whether the Korean Republic have any petrol left in the tank after two incredibly sapping knockout matches. Not a lot of time to recover between. But they're made of very stern stuff.
Foul on Lee Yong-rae gives South Korea the free kick. The third time in 4 tournaments the South Koreans have been involved in this particular match. As the header is won by Ji Dong-won, another youngster who's advanced his reputation immeasurably at this particular event.
We know that Bundesliga clubs are already circling. He's had a wonderful tournament as well. That was a poor touch, not reflective of his quality. Talk about us, Pim Verbeek being banished to the benches in this corresponding match 4 years ago. Of course, that suspension carried on to the start of qualification for this Asian Cup. Verbeek having to sit on the sidelines whilst Australia got their campaign underway, which, in deference to the former boss of the Socceroos, has come full circle. The team getting ready for the final tomorrow against Japan.
So free kick for South Korea. Ki Sung-young towards the far post, and climbing highest was Lee Jong-soo.
Well, this is going to be a part of the field where Korea Republic are going to completely dominate. Australia made mincemeat of Uzbekistan's central defending in the semi-final and expect Korea Republic to do the same.
Nesterov clearing his lines. Here's Server Japarov. Loses out in midfield to Lee Chung-yong. Plays his top football in England. Cha Do-ri, who plays in Scotland with Celtic. Bit of a careless ball. Quickly back in possession though. Ki Sung-young. Threaded through, looking for the run of Ji Dong-won. He was well marshalled by Viktor Karpenko. It's a moot point, Andy, whether these third, fourth place games should be included in the competition schedule or not. What's your take on it?
Well, I have a firmer view about the third, fourth match being a qualification for the next Championship of Asia. And that view is, I think, only the host country should be granted direct entry, because I think the important part about developing international football is having a national team play games, and the way it's going to be, the way it is in Asia at the moment, is 3 teams get a direct spot, the host plus 2 others. And I think the entire confederation is much better for everyone having to scrap for the available places. So presumably they've made this third, fourth place playoff a qualifier to give it some meaning, and that's all very well and good. There's surely other ways of stoking the fires, as it were.
I'm with you, Andy. There's Japarov looking to pick out Novgorod at the far post.
From an Australian perspective, just on that point, Simon, completely excited about the Asian Cup coming to Australia, but very disappointed that Australia's not going to have to qualify for that, because Australian football fans want their national team developing by qualification.
That was the reason the country wanted to join Asia in the first place. Meaningful games. Anyway, for the time being, third, fourth place game is with us.
And often it delivers, you know, as we said. Often a lot of expectation about this game, but more often than not, it's a really fun night of football. More than just fun at stake for Uzbekistan, however. Footballing reputation in Asia just in tatters after that semi-final capitulation.
Yeah, want a response, won't he, Vadim Abramov? Perhaps as much for his own skin as that of his players. His reputation was probably taken a bit of a battering back in Uzbekistan following hammering at the hands of the Socceroos. So they'll be looking for a good performance today. Certainly a much better defensive performance than they had the other night. So they've gone with a back 3 again this evening, Andy. With Karpenko, Abdul, this is G.1, beautifully balanced player. So there for Ki Sung-yoon. That's a beautifully threaded ball through. Here come the Koreans and try and tee it up through Lee Chung-yong for G.1. In the end, it was good defending by Andreev. Uzbekistan can break.
Terrific fluency again for the Korea Republic. They're really good to watch, aren't they, when the ball's on the deck and their speed of movement.
Japarov. The 1-2 with Novgorod. Playing in midfields, the Koreans. Jong Ho in particular gets his chance today due to Park Ji-sung's absence. This is Lee Yong-rae. He's also had a very steady tournament in that defensive midfield role. This came off. A touch from Lee Chung-yong. Chol, who's got all reason to want to be playing well here this evening. Of course, he is still theoretically in line to win the Golden Boot. Just one behind, Ismail Abdul Latif.
He remarkably is sitting top of the pops cure of one outing against India. Mind you, it wasn't his only good game, it should be said, in defence of Abdul Latif. He was outstanding against Australia. Bahrain lost that game by a goal to 0, but he proved a constant thorn in the side. Difficult for the Korea Republic as well in their match. It was the game against India which yielded the biggest return.
stake by Lee Yong-rae. Akhmedov striding forwards. He's been a real standout, Andy. Odil Akhmedov. I'm sure there's a few clubs are waiting with perhaps open checkbooks at the culmination of the tournaments.
Well, all sorts of rumours, of course, flying around, particularly with players like that. But the hottest one at the moment is there's a $4 million offer on the table for his current club from Russia. That's been rejected.
Here he is on the ball. His current club, of course, Paktakor, the Uzbekistan Giants. Now it goes towards Gainrik, and Novgorod trying to get there on the follow-up. Gainrik will try and tee it up for Tursunov. Here is Tursunov, and it's off the heel of the defender Lee Jong-soo, and behind from Uzbekistan corner.
Well, Korea's defence just a little bit on its heels. Providing a bit more time for Uzbekistan's attack to formulate something meaningful. With that effort on goal, forcing the corner to be taken by Alexander Gainrik. So missed was he in the semi-final.
It's a beautiful ball. Picked out Haydanov superbly there. Alexander Gainrik. Akhmedov, who can hit them. On always rising.
Very understandable that he would have a shot from here. Equally understandable that Uzbekistan's players, in moving from greener pastures of a domestic league to a foreign league, head towards Russia, where there's a lot of money, of course, and it's a lot easier for them to settle in with the language similarities, etc. But for someone like Abdul Akhmedov, I would imagine he would just thrive in the Bundesliga. Big competition, big clubs. He's got a big technique to go with it. Be wonderful for the Uzbek national team, in my opinion.
Meantime, this is Karpenko. Rayyan. We'll watch that one over the top.
One thing we're learning from this Asian Cup, if we needed it being reinforcing, is the teams that do well are the teams that export portions of their squad to the big leagues of Europe. There's nothing about which Asian nations need be ashamed at all. The balance between the two, and you look at Korea and Japan, two of the outstanding teams, the split between their domestic representation and European representation, Australia in that category as well. Outside of those three teams, there's not a lot of footballers plying their trade in the really tough competitions, the top echelon of world football.
A bit casual there by Akhmedov, but he's recovered well.
I think Akhmedov is a standout example of an Asian player who could do very well in Western Europe, and that would benefit the Uzbek national team.
Sure would. He's playing out of position, of course, at this Asian Cup as well. Normally a central midfielder, but he's playing as a libero today as part of that back three. An old-fashioned sweeper.
Yeah, well, it's a very fluent system. They line up with a back four, but it becomes a back three, Simon, because Vadim Abramov insists on his fullbacks pushing forward, and then they have to balance the field as they're doing that, which does give that appearance of the back three, and indeed the need for one of those central defenders to play that deeper libero role.
Pick out a teammate, and now Korea with a chance, South Korea that is, to try and break. Lovely skill at midfield area from Koo Jan-chol. This is Lee Young-pyo, who's just been spoken to in the last couple of minutes by the referee. That's a challenge about a minute or two ago. He's left the studs up a little on Uzbekistan opponents. This is Andreev. Give and go with Japarov. Good football by Uzbekistan. It's Novgorod can't quite provide the finish. 15 minutes played at Al Sadd. Uzbekistan 0, South Korea 0.
I think Uzbekistan have started the better of the two. Korea Republic putting Uzbekistan consecutive knockout games, which went the full 120 minutes, and then the semi-final, emotionally sapping experience, losing the penalty shootout. If indeed Korea Republic are lacking freshness, it's completely understandable.
As good as his word though, Cho Kwang-rae didn't make wholesale changes. This is Koo Jia-chol linking up with Ji Dong-won. Plenty of numbers back for Uzbekistan. And a bit of a theatrical tumble by Ji Dong-won, but Uzbekistan have given it straight back to the South Koreans in the shape of Lee Chung-yong. It's the casual nature of the White Wolves' defence that was so ruthlessly exposed by Australia. Maybe the South Koreans were watching that and have learnt a few lessons.
Yeah, well, Answer Ismailov, who was on the bench today, the number 4, was singled out for some particularly fierce criticism post-semi-final. Well, I thought it was certainly worth considering having Mladinov start against Australia.
This is Japarov, who initially found a bit of room. Here comes the cross, looking for Novgorod. Well dealt with by the South Koreans, and this is a really good, strong run from Lee Yong-rae. He's managed to get it through too. Here's Koo Jia-chol, 1-on-1, and he scores! He's in the running for the Golden Boots, very much so. Koo Jia-chol puts South Korea in front after 17 minutes.
Talking about lightning, not supposed to strike in the same place twice, but have a look at how Uzbekistan's field opened up on the counter-attack for the Korean Republic and how ruthlessly it was exposed again. Uzbekistan on the attack, and the Inquisition has begun. There is finger-pointing galore going on. This is an enormously powerful run through midfield from Lee Yong-rae. From that point on, it was a telling pass and a clinical finish from Koo Jia-chol. Defence into attack, blink of an eye, Uzbekistan behind. And their good start has come to nothing.
It's the 11th goal that Uzbekistan have conceded at this Asian Cup. Ruthlessly exposed by the South Koreans, and you're right, Andy, Lee Yong-rae, what a long bursting run that was from midfield. Absolutely terrific.
Well, he shouldn't have been allowed to carry the ball from that position on the field unchallenged. Yes, he's a good player. Most certainly he's a powerful player who can cover the ground at great speed, but at international level, Uzbekistan needed to match him further up the field and then just opened up completely. Nothing has been learned from the semi-final disgrace.
What a tournament it has been for Koo Jia-chol. It's his 7th international goal, and just his 16th international appearance. Not a bad record. Here's Karpenko. So Uzbekistan look to mount a response. Gainrich ignores Japarov, goes for goal instead. He's rather ruined that opportunity.
Well, he made the decision earlier that he was going to shoot, and that was very clear because he had probably a more positive pass to Server Japarov, who'd made a good run. It was an easy find. Uzbekistan would have been deep into the Korean Republic penalty area. Gainrich opting to go on his own. The shot was a poor one.
Gainrich again. Now breaks for Karpenko. Uzbekistan with a lot of the early possession, as they did against Australia. Sunov. Again, no end product for Uzbekistan, despite some pretty approach play and going out of the the cheeks from Vadim Abramov. Super run by Lee Yong-rae. And a very tidy finish by Kuja Chol of Jeju United. He was actually invited for a trial by Blackburn Rovers last year. With 4 goals at this tournament. And 19 assists in the K-League last season. He is probably another one that's is not long for the K-League, Andy.
No, indeed. And both the J-League and the K-League have a very aggressive, proactive opinion about their players moving to Western Europe. Kuja would well be one of the next to go.
Luck. Well, he couldn't ride the challenge because it was illegal. Free kick.
Well, he fell for that one. Good experience from Alex Gainrich, who was struggling to beat his opponents for speed. So just positioned himself to attract the contact from Lee Yong-pyo, which was forthcoming, and it's a good piece of cagey play from Uzbekistan striker. It's a very tidy position for a free kick.
Suit the sweet left foot of Server Japarov. Well, Gainrich, Paul Rank could say, no, I'm going to have this one. Precision by Japarov, or power from Gainrich. It's the precision of Server Japarov. Wall was positioned precisely well. Now Akhmedov, oh, that was close. Akhmedov. He knew exactly where he wanted to place this. Well, it's probably a little bit further away than it looked from our vantage position, Andy, but another little glimpse of his abilities.
Indeed, nevertheless. Rayyan in the Korean Republic goal just had a very, very quick and nervous look to make sure the ball was going to be wide. Clearly so in the end.
Garov looking for Novkarov. This is Huang. Ball forwards. Flipped on by Kuja Chol. Korea threatening again. There's a man over here on the left, but it's a dreadful ball from Ku. Sung-yong, Charlie Ree riding in support down the right flank as he is wont to do. Lee Chung-yong back to Charduri. Corner for the South Koreans.
Defended by skipper Server Japarov. Charduri didn't get as forward as one might have expected against Japan in the semi-final. He found Nagatomo just more than a fair share of work. Decided to stay anchored at right fullback. Korea much better when he's pushing forward.
It's a corner. It's the highest. It's Lee Jung-soo with Lee Jung-chol. That should be easy enough for the goalkeeper. Instead of early release 2 for Japarov. So Sunov. There for Uzbekistan. Charduri. Motoring down the right flank. He's got real pace. So even he can keep the ball in. He's a super player, isn't he, Charduri? He's got speed, he's got power. He's got experience.
And normally a good cross, but he just asked too much of himself there. But again, he's going to win possession or at least force the turnover.
Too cheaply for Uzbekistan. Lee Yong-rae. Held up by a timely tackle. Penko and Japarov linking with Karov. This match just bisected his two teammates. Fancy there might be a few more goals in this, Andy.
Well, again, Uzbekistan's defence, they're not pushing up, they're not dropping back, they are like Paddy's pig at the moment, all over the place.
Lee Chung-yong gets made off.
I mean, they're not playing with a libero, but they are half setting up with the libero, if you know what I mean. And it's a ridiculous lack of coordination across their back line. They're providing too much depth for the Korean attack.
Now there's a chance for Uzbekistan. Server Japarov. Gaming is left. Karov is right. Alexander Gabrick. Borrow his way through. Just had to disconnect.
And just as a comparison, okay, when Uzbekistan broke then, it was 5v3. Now, if that was the reverse cycle and Korea were attacking Uzbekistan 5-3, it more than likely would have at least finished in a save by the goalkeeper, if not a goal. But when Uzbekistan have the chance to attack, Korea flood back in numbers. The back three, as they were exposed, delayed beautifully. They dropped and delayed, and they waited for the midfield to come and support. And the counter-attack was nullified. It's the part of Uzbekistan's game that they can't manage in defence, and that's why Australia smashed them the other night. And that was the reason for the goal after 17 minutes here.
Here's the man who sets up the goal. Lee Yong-rae. Lee Yong-kyo. He's on to Lee Chung-yong. They're working it beautifully. It's just way too easy. Chung-yong makes it 2-0 after 27 minutes. Again, the possession is going on. They've just got no answer to this, Uzbekistan.
It needs a concrete reinforcement or something in the basic pillars of their lineup. But they dive in, they don't hold their feet, they're uncoordinated, they're out of sync, and you would have thought they're out of action for this third, fourth playoff. It's a beautiful finish, and it's a very, very attractive build-up. But there's too much space, there's too many half decisions being made by Uzbek defenders. And against this quality opposition, as we saw against the semi-final, it's not good enough.
Well, if they don't tighten up, Andy, they've got another 6-minute scoreline on their hands, haven't they?
At the least. A nod for Timur Jurayev the other night in goal for Uzbekistan. Let's face it, 6 could have been 10 or 11 quite easily.
Funnily enough, that hammering by Australia was not Uzbekistan's record defeat in the Asian Cup. Back in 2000, they were beaten 8-1 by Japan. Just for good measure, they lost 5-0 to Saudi Arabia in the same tournament. I'm sure that won't be of too much consolation to them. Here come the South Koreans again. Japarov trying to direct traffic. They are looking a little ragged, Uzbekistan, perhaps, Andy, like a team that wishes to be on the plane home back to Tashkent. Still going to play for the national jersey, though, and this is Haydarov, who forces a good stop out of Rayyan as we pass the half-hour mark at Al Sadd.
A good surge and a good shot. He's probably his best moment with the ball at his feet in the tournament. He's more there to try and coordinate the midfield and break up opposing attacks. On that occasion, he launched himself forward for some good work from Rayyan.
Uzbekistan's most capped player of all time. Gainrick gets a second go. Played by Hong Jong-ho. There with Karpenko. Throw-in's gone South Korea's way. And Uzbekistan can't quite believe that. Certainly Sanyar Tursunov. It should have been awarded the other way. Here's the earlier effort from Haydarov. Nice height for the goalkeeper, but hit it with plenty of power.
Yeah, it's a good piece of work. Individual technique. Not really the major problem for Uzbekistan. It's the tactical side of the game where they've been so ruthlessly exposed.
Offside against Rovkarov. Again, it's a tight decision. We've seen a few of those in this Asian Cup. All too often is our bugbear. The advantage doesn't go to the attacking side. Darov. Snaffled in midfield by Lee Chung-yong. Here come the Koreans through Ji-dong-won. Already on the score sheet. They back off Uzbekistan. Almost inviting him to shoot. Goodness me. If his placement had been a little better, it would have surely been 3. It was a case of after you, Claude. Go ahead and shoot.
Yeah, well, here's the invitation. They're a bit earlier than normal, but accept it nevertheless. I mean, Miladinov, it's like he's dropped anchor 5 yards outside his own penalty area, and Uzbekistan turn the ball over in their midfield. There's just enormous amounts of space for the Korean players to utilise. The complete opposite of compact at the moment. Uzbekistan have been found out completely by 2 good teams, Australia in the semi and now the Korean Republic in the 3rd, 4th playoff.
That's it. Apologising twice after that hammering by Australia. They become a bit of a mantra if they don't buck their ideas up. White Wolves.
So that was better from Miladinov. Uzbekistan's defence was up towards halfway as the team was pushing. And as Korea looked to clean out their defensive area, Uzbekistan were positioned to pressurise and win the ball back. It's not tough. It's not hard. Not the hardest part of the game, at least.
This is Miladinov. Tursunov. Gainrick. Karpenko. Haydarov gives it away too cheaply. Volley by Medov. Foul on Karpenko. Korea will try and quicken the pace. Karpenko's remained down on the turf, so Koreans sportingly kicking the ball out of play. To Karpenko. Plays for the other one of the Uzbekistan big 2, Bunyodkor. G-Dong-Won. So, beaten to it by Mladenov, and now Gainrich. Hong Jong-ho for South Korea. They've only ever lost once to Uzbekistan in their 7 previous meetings. That was at 1994 Asian Games, which of course Uzbekistan went on to win. They've never really been able to kick on from that moment. Perennial dark horses for major tournaments, but this is as far as they've ever got. This is Rayyan. Time to measure the cross. Here comes Misterov. Parov. This is Timur Kapata. His 80th cap tonight. Timur Kapata. Another loose one by Mladenov. Just far too easy to give the ball away at times. South Korea almost in total control of this 3rd, 4th place playoff as we inch towards half-time. This is Kudjachol. Square for Jong-ho. Lee Yong-rae. Now Lee Chung-yong. Held up only momentarily. This is G-Dong-won. Lee is there to help. Sidesteps one challenge. Hangs it up, looking for the head of Kudjachol. It's too deep. Tursunov will bring it clear. Again, Andy. Simple passing. The basics of the game, Uzbekistan cannot get right tonight.
Well, they just continue to invite the Korean Republic onto them. Already chasing a 2-goal deficit.
G-Dong-won, it's 3! G-Dong-won has 2 for the night. And Uzbekistan are perhaps heading for another hammering. It's 3-0. But again, the defending, Andy, was powder puff.
Well, at times they might as well be there. The passage into Uzbekistan's defensive third is too easy as it is. There's sometimes even less resistance getting into the penalty area. The turnovers are cheap. I mean, that's a simple one-on-one leap and score. Now, he is outstanding in the air. Let's make no mistake about that. I reckon you're looking at the tournament here, there are a few players with a vertical leap like G-Dong-won. It's quite stunning. And in fact, in his own way, he's as dominant in those situations as Tim Cahill has been in his own career for Australia and Everton. Phenomenal aerial capacity, but there was barely a touch on him. 7 yards out from your own goal. You've got to put more on an attacker than that. Victor Karpenko just beaten hopelessly.
Well, this does have the potential to get rather ugly again for Uzbekistan as Charduri accounts for the aerial threat of G-Dong-won. Jong-ho perhaps thinking about the shot from long range. Why not? They've been pretty much flying in from anywhere against Uzbekistan. It's offside against G-Dong-won, who's on a hat-trick, of course, now.
Yeah, it's a great finish. To labour on the defensive frailties of Uzbekistan would be to deny the goal scorer his due. Nesterov did as well as he could. G-Dong-won is an outstanding player in prospect, if not already.
Still just 19. Makes it 5 goals in 7 games at international level for G-Dong-won. You know that our own bench, Stanger Andy, has been part of our commentary team here in Qatar, has been very impressed by G in particular. Look at the room here. Felicia Young. Charlie Reese steaming forward. He's been found, or has he? Imagine if he come out. He does. Just.
Never quite sure, eh? Even when they're in possession, you can't afford to take your eyes off the game because they're likely to make an errant pass. Like that. Invite the Korean Republic back onto them again. This is going to be a long night for fans of Uzbek football. A very, very long night. 3.5 out from half time. They're already 3 down. There'll be an avalanche unless the Korean Republic take their foot off the accelerator. The big question coming into the game, Simon, one of them was from where would Uzbekistan muster the right psychological levels to fight for themselves after the disappointment, the humiliation.
It was always going to be tough, wasn't it?
Well, they're answering. They can't. They've got nothing left in the tank on the evidence of this first 45 minutes.
Here come the South Koreans again through Hong Jong-ho. Really short that by Kuja Chol. This is Serba Japarov. Looking for Gainrich. Support from Tursunov. Japarov. It has to be Darov, Japarov. This is Radov. Away by Lee Jong-soo. Darov. Work out to the right flank and Sanyar Tursunov. Charlie Reed, Enko, Uzbekistan at least threatening to threaten, if I could put it that way. And got a chance now because they've got a penalty kick. Novkhanov fouled inside the box. And referee Abdul Malik has pointed to the penalty spot.
Unsurprisingly, this opportunity has come from their best period of sustained attack. With the telling pass, Novkhanov winning the foul inside the penalty area, hence the yellow card, hence the penalty, and hence Uzbekistan's chance right as half-time approaches to give themselves a much-needed injection.
It will be Alexander Gainrich who will assume the responsibility from the spot. 3 consecutive Asian Cups. Can he put Uzbekistan on the scoreboard? Bring a little respectability after a dreadful first half for the White Wolves. Oh, it's a very cheeky penalty. It's Panenka-esque, if you remember that far back. However, referee's spotted encroachment. I bet he doesn't try the second time ending. Or if he does, he's a very brave man. Pity for Gainrich. So, penalty take 2. He goes for power this time. And the end result is the same. Uzbekistan on the scoreboard through Alexander Gainrich.
The 2 good penalties. One flashy, the other conventional. Gainrich giving his team some sort of hope. None apparently existed. A deplorable first half from Uzbekistan, but a glimmer of hope now with that penalty conversion.
Ladies and gentlemen, there will be 1 minute added time.
So just before half-time, just before they are, I'm sure, Andy, about to feel the wrath of Vadim Abramov's tongue. woeful defending at the back. 2 goals from Jidong, one from Kujay Chol, and Gainrich's penalty on the stroke of the interval, at least pulling one back for the White Wolves. Half-time in Doha. It's Uzbekistan 1, South Korea 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated. The AFC Games Asia School Challenge Award Ceremony for the School Challenge Championship title will be visible.
So free kick for South Korea. Ki Sung-young towards the far post and climbing higher.
Well, this is going to be a part of the field.
Well dealt with by the South Koreans, and this is a really good strong run from Lee Yong-rae. He's managed to get it through too. Here is Kujay Chol, one-on-one, and he scores! He is in the running for the Golden Boots, very much.
Galore going on. This is an enormously powerful run through midfield from Lee Yong-rae. From that point on, it was a telling pass and a clinical finish from Kujay Chol. Defence into attack, blink of an eye.
Finish by Kujay Chol of Jeju United. And with Wall was positioned precisely well. Now Akhmadov, oh, that was close. Further away than it looked from our vantage position, Andy, but another little glimpse of Ki Sung-young to Lee Chung-young. They're working it beautifully here. Jidong won! Oh, it's just too easy. It's just way too easy.
But they dive in, they don't hold their feet. They're uncoordinated, they're out of sync, and you would have thought they're out of action for this third, fourth playoff. It's a beautiful finish, and it's a very, very attractive build-up.
Still going to play for the national jersey though, and this is Haydarov who forces a good stop out of Jung Sung-ryong as we pass the half-hour mark at Al Sadd.
A good surge and a good shot.
Here's the earlier effort from Haydarov. Midfield by Lee Chung-young. Here come the Koreans through Jidong-won, already on the score sheet. They back off Uzbekistan, almost inviting him to shoot. Goodness me. Placement had been a little better, it would have surely been 3.
Well, they just continue to invite the Korean Republic onto them, already chasing a 2-goal deficit.
Jidong-won, it's 3! Jidong-won has 2 for the Knights. And Uzbekistan.
Best resistance getting into the penalty area. The turnovers are cheap. I mean, that's a simple one-on-one leap and score. Now, he is outstanding in the air. Let's make no mistake about that. I reckon you're looking at the tournament here. There are a few players with a vertical leap like Jidong-won. It's quite stunning. And in fact, in his own way, he's as dominant.
Uzbekistan at least threatening to threaten, if I could put it that way. And they've got a chance now because they've got a penalty kick. Novkhanov.
Well, not surprisingly, this opportunity has come from their best period of sustained attack.
Take 2. He goes for power this time, and the end result is the same. Uzbekistan on the score.
One flashy, the other conventional. Gainrich giving his team some sort of...
Has been all South Korea, helped in part by some woeful defending. 1, Korean Republic 3. 6 shots on target in total, just the 1 yellow card. That went the way of Hwang Jae-won. And as you can see, a similar story as it was a few days ago against Australia. Uzbekistan with 60% of the possession, but it doesn't matter how much you have of the ball if you're giving away cheap and silly goals, as Uzbekistan have done again in this first half. So 3-1 to the Koreans at the interval. The second half coming up very shortly.
For the champion titles. السيدات والسادة، تنافست 4 فرق ضمن مراحل سنية مختلفة للفوز بلقب البطولة. The champion for girls ages 9 to 17 is الفريق الفائز للفئة السنية بنات ما بين 9 ل 17 عاما Modern Indian School representing للفئة السنية
Ladies and gentlemen, these remains after the match as the award presentation to the first place team will take place.
Welcome back to Al Sadd Stadium, where Uzbekistan have been given a pretty torrid time in the first 45 minutes, although they did manage to pull a goal back at the stroke of the interval through Alexander Gamerich's penalty. But their defending, if anything, has been worse than it was against Australia a few days ago. Before that game, of course, Vadim Abramov, their coach, made the mistake of saying that Australia are not Brazil. They've made South Korea, like Brazil and Spain combined, in the first 45. 2 goals for Ji Dong-won after the opener from Kuja Chol, who now has 4 for the tournaments, and at least for the present is in line for a share of the golden boots with Ismail Abdul of Bahrain. Doesn't look as though either coach has made any changes at the interval. So South Korea halfway to finishing 3rd for the 2nd consecutive tournament, and of course booking their place in the 2015 Asian Cup to be held in Australia. Uzbekistan striker who's suspended from this game, of course, after the red against Australia. And it is Uzbekistan who get us back underway, trailing by 3 goals to 1 in this 3rd and 4th place playoff. Just to correct what I said earlier, Kuja Chol has now moved on to 5 goals for this Asian Cup, so just a share of the golden boots. He may indeed have it outright. Of course, still the final to come tomorrow. Very cool on 3 goals for Australia. For the moment, I'm sure Andy Harper, Vadim Abramov's half-time team talk has revolved around shape, focus, a little bit more defensive solidity.
Well, you'd like to think so. I should wonder what football coach Abdul is watching.
This is marching off. At least in part culpable for shambles that Uzbekistan were in that first half. No means alone. This is Haydarov. To touch off the boots of Malajanov. Ray, who played in a final of the Asian Cup back in 1980 for South Korea against Kuwait. Desperately wanted to avenge that this particular tournament, but have to wait another 4 years at least to end their 51-year wait for the 3rd Asian Cup. Led by Hong Jong-ho, and this is Lee Sung-yong. To Lee Chung-yong. Darov, quite quick enough to see off Ji Dong-won. This is Lee Young-pyo. Put forward by Wang. Hong Jong-ho looking for the early release. Too much weight on it for Ji Dong-won. He was a fine player in his day as well, Cho Kwang-rae. 80 caps for his country. Just like many coaches, he says this Asian Cup is really a building block towards Brazil 2014 as they look to at least emulate the second round performance of the Tiger Warriors of last year's World Cup in South Africa. They impressed many observers as Japarov is caught offside.
Yeah, they had a very impressive World Cup, as did Japan. Two Asian countries who made it to the round of 16, clearly offside, no question about that. They did very well against Uruguay in the knockout match which ended their campaign, the Korea Republic. With a couple of moments of luck, maybe application throughout the 90 minutes, and they could have been the ones to have sailed through to the quarterfinals. Uruguay wrote their own wonderful headlines, finishing in the semis, of course. Neither Korea nor Japan looked out of their depth at that level of the world's premier sporting event.
Here's Lee Yong-kyo playing in front of those Korean fans wearing the red jerseys for the last time. A long and distinguished career. Chaduri is offside. Just on Lee Yong-kyo, Andy, and Park Ji-sung indeed as well. Both due to retire. So that's at least two positions that Cho will have to fill, and two important players as well.
Yeah,
he's going to lose.
Particularly Park Ji-sung. I mean, he's the player in this team, whichever way you cut it. His successful playing career, probably unparalleled in Korean football history. I mean, the guy's had a freakish time of it. When you lose your engine room, your motivation, your inspiration, your quality, your leadership, you don't replace those players easily. Lee Yong-kyo is going to be a tough one to replace as well, but it's a different sort of discussion, isn't it? The thing about Korea and Japan is that they've invested so heavily and so smartly and with such commitment into their football structures, principally their domestic competition, the K-League and the J-League. They've got players coming from everywhere. And that's why those two countries, as a football machine, are so far ahead of every other country in Asia.
And here's one of those products, Lee Chung-yong, known as the Blue Dragon in South Korea. Held up by Andreev. Chaduri then charges down the right. We've nicknamed him the choo-choo train, haven't we, Andy? For those
The cha-cha train,
runs, the cha-cha train.
Brilliant when he gets going. And the key to the semi-final that Japan didn't allow him to get forward. They still came back with enormous fight, the Korean Republic. Out on their feet physically, they must have been back-to-back extra time matches against the might of Japan, and still they mustered something for 20th minute equaliser. Brilliant performance by them.
Gainrick felt he should have had a free kick for that. Totally struck the hands. Was it intentional? The referee thought not. Off, lifting it carefully over the top for rushing Andreev. Japarov sneaking in around the back. Here is Tursunov. Now Karpenko, space for Padze. Gainrick. Dardov. Good cover provided on the right flank by Lee Chung-yong. And there's going to be the first change of the game. There's going to be one of the goal scorers, Kuja Chol, who will be replaced by one of those bright young things you were talking about, Andy. Yoon Bit-garam plays for Jeonnam in the K-League. Scored the winner, of course, against Iran in the quarterfinals. As we look again at Ku's goal.
Super finish, good reward, fine young player. They've had the two standout young players in the tournament career. He's one of them, Kuja Chol. Yoon Bit-garam, if he'd had more game time, might have made it a hat-trick of young players for Korean Republic. He's such a prospect. What a goal to win the quarter-final against Iran.
That's better by Uzbekistan. Here's Gainrich, chance to make it 3-2. Alexander Gainrich, and he has made it 3-2. A brace for Gainrich, and Uzbekistan are right back in this contest.
Well, I think Korea Republic have gone to sleep twice in defence, and Alexander Gainrich has scored twice. Once from a penalty spot just on half-time, and now 7 minutes into the second half. It's Alexander Gainrich, injured for the quarter-final, has twisted nicely. That is a good finish as well to make it 3-2, and it's game on. Remarkable. Game on here. And third, fourth place playoff once again has lit the fuse. It's incredible how this game. Such a wet blanket as far as anticipation is concerned, and how often do we get into it and all of a sudden there's goals flying and players decide, hang on a minute, we better get going here.
Well, Uzbekistan, apart from that game against Australia, have scored now 2 goals in every game at this Asian Cup. That's not where their problem lies, as we well know.
No, but they're playing a much more compact defence at the moment. You can see how high up the field they're defending. The back four is squeezing up behind their midfielders much as they can. Now let's see how they go when they have to rearrange their formation. Korea turn the point of attack. And that's a good steal from Hyderov. It's much better from Uzbekistan.
And this is Gainrich. Uzbekistan sensing that there's still something in this match for them, and Hyderov was caught.
Well, that looked more like a football team to me. It was in concert, defended nicely, good compact, moving in unison was the formation. And then Hyderov stole the ball. A good decision. They were rare in the first half defensively. And that was a good decision, and the counter-attack launched. Here's the goal. And that wonderful bird's eye cam. That's a great finish. He's a good player. Scored good goals for Uzbekistan. He's one of their leading lights. They missed him in the semi against Australia, there's no doubt. For all that possession they had in the first half against the Socceroos, whilst they were still in the game, they had no one in attack to make the most of it. Henrik tonight has shown what he brings to the table. As crazy as it seemed going into the half-time break, Uzbekistan are back in the contest.
That takes Gainrich's total at this Asian Cup to 3. Also scored against China in the group phase. There's a bit of a problem with Hyderov and Ki Sung-young, who got a kick on the knee there. There's Ki Sung-young's statistics: 59 passes, 81% completion rate. More on those stats visit the AFC's official website. Double trouble for South Korea. Yellow cards and a free kick. So Rayyan, quite as much of a spectator as he was in the first half, and Gainrich's waved everybody away. Understandably, he's on a hat-trick, even though it's a fair old way out. He's going to try and lash this one towards goal. Here he goes. Oh, no, he doesn't. Cheeky chip. Almost like the penalty that we saw right at the end of the first half. By the way, talking of cheeky penalties, that's not the first time Gainrich has tried something like that. He and Maxim Shatsky in a friendly recently did the old Robert Pires/Thierry Henry attempt. Playing it to each other from the penalty spot, and they scored. Karov, good pace, good determination. He's away from the fullback. Gainrich waits in the middle. It's behind Gainrich, but arriving here is Tursunov. Uzbekistan are a different team here, and South Korea are on the ropes a little bit.
I think it's fair to suggest that Vadim Abramov has got the hairdryer out at half-time. He certainly made a couple of key corrections.
Well, Gainrich doesn't need a hairdryer, I don't think, does he?
Maybe that's where it all went.
Here is Gainrich, inspirational. Was there a little clip there on Novkarov?
Barely, if anything. I think he was looking for some charity.
Well, we played nearly an hour at Al Sadd. 5 goals. Still the issue of who will qualify for the next Asian Cup is pretty much unresolved. Against all odds, it must be said. Tursunov. Uzbekistan get the decision. Another change for South Korea. Lee Chung-yong is man to be replaced, and in his stead will come Son Heung-min, who plays in the Bundesliga, still just 18 for Hamburg. He's been paid one of the biggest compliments I think a South Korean player can be paid by the great Franz Beckenbauer. Call him the next Cha Bum-kun. He was the first real South Korean superstar. Played in Germany, of course, for many years. And is the father of Cha Du-ri. Hamad. Gainrich. Straight at Lee Yong-kyo. And this is Lee Yong-rae. Son Heung-min getting involved in the action. Little on Ki Sung-young.
Clear push from Kapadze then. A quiet tournament, Tim Kapadze. He's only 29 years of age, so there's plenty of football left in him. He's such a key component of this team. Take a heavy head clash in the opening game. Maybe that knocked him around more than I might have expected. He hasn't had the impact, certainly, that one has come to expect from him.
Lee Yong-rae getting South Korea moving. It's a good ball into the channel. Lee Yong-pyong, and it was Ji Dong-won just sticking out the right boots. If he'd have made contact, may have well have been another goal for South Korea.
Beautiful pass. Lee Yong-kyo making the extra man, and there's better defending from Abdul Now, he didn't make contact with the ball, but his presence was enough to put Ji Dong-won off his stride. It's not always about making contact and winning the challenge directly. We saw there from Akhmedov, it's much better from Uzbekistan. It's been far more impressive second half.
Goes ball in, and it's turned towards goal by Novkarov. Not enough power on the efforts to trouble Jung Sung-ryong.
A good attack again, nice build up down the right hand side, sweeping the ball in.
Didn't really catch it properly, did he, Korov?
Just went for the one touch, but it took two on the way through. That's what brought him unstuck in the end. Karov. He's a sprightly, diminutive customer, good speed.
very much favourites of coach Abramov. He played under Abramov at Lokomotiv Tashkent. In fact, some of the Uzbekistan supporters, Andy, feel he's favoured a bit too much.
Every coach has their right to pick, don't they?
True.
The first coach in history to see something in a player that the gathering classes failed to recognise.
Switch of play. Good awareness by Charduri. This is the busy Lee Yong-rae. Looking for a bit of width, which Lee Yong-pyo provides. Ki Sung-young. Now with Hwang Jae-won. Patient build-up by the South Koreans. Pushing and probing, waiting for a little bit of space to appear. Ji Dong-won feeding Lee Yong-rae. Good ball in, and Son throws himself at the ball. Uzbekistan do just enough. Still they come South Korea. Through Yoonbit Garam. There's too much on that from Ji Dong-won.
Well, more evidence of the better collective effort from Uzbekistan. Worked that nicely with Korea Republic. And again, it was committed defending in the final analysis. Miludinov on this occasion doing what he does probably best, and that is challenging for the ball with his head. His positional sense, or lack thereof, was a big problem for him in the first half. In those direct confrontations, he's good enough, and when Uzbekistan are showing that they've got the mindset to get players in the right position and to work with coordination, they look like a football team. They look like anything but a football team in the first half.
Ki Sung-young from the combative Haydarov. They provide a decent base normally, don't they, those two, Haydarov and Kapadze?
Yeah, they do. I think they've been found out in this tournament for a bit of a lack of athleticism. The first goal from Korea Republic tonight, when Lee Yong-rae burst from defence into attack with the ball at his feet. He left both of them just clutching at thin air. It was really stark comparison between the two, but that underlined what Uzbekistan's problem was. They were too easily isolated. Korea Republic picked them off, as they're looking to do again now.
Ji Dong-won on a hat-trick. Oh, and he's clipped the base of the post. Charduri with a follow-up. High into the stands. He was oh so close to a treble.
Well, his goal tonight came because, like few others in the tournament, he can jump and head the ball, quite freakishly so. This showed another part of his very impressive game, and that is on the carpet. He changes direction, remains in close control of the ball. He's not a small man either. Rangy. And that was a beautiful effort on goal. Keeper beaten, just couldn't negotiate the post.
Holding on Haydarov by Yoonbit Garam. Midway point of the second period passed. Uzbekistan have made a real fight of this. 3-0 down, remember. Now we're back at 3-2. Novkadov. Andreev just on his heels slightly. Wasn't anticipating the ball coming through his way. This is Japarov. by Tursunov, but nobody there in white. Gainrich. Lovely skills by Alexander Gainrich. Uzbekistan really started to play here, and Gainrich curls it just over the top.
I think collapses to his knees because he knows exactly how good a chance that was.
Beautiful build-up,
there's no problem with Uzbekistan ball in possession. In fact, they dominate possession in many of the games in which they play. Very comfortable. None of the players from 1 to 11 are fighting with the ball for its control. They're very comfortable. It's no surprise that they're able to mount impressive attacks like that. Bigger issues at the other end of the field. Bigger issues for Uzbek football to address.
You do just wonder whether the injured central defender Yaroslav Krushelnitsky might have made a bit of a difference for them. They've had to play Akhmedov out of position virtually the whole tournament. And he's shuffled and reshuffled the decks defensively without ever really finding the right blend. Vadim Abramov. Whose goal really lit the blue touch paper on opening night against Qatar. We've seen some fantastic strikes at this tournament, some great goals.
Yeah, it's been a fun football tournament, plenty to celebrate for the Asian Football Confederation. Obvious elements of the game that need to be developed, no question about that, but that's half the reason for having a Confederation tournament like this. There is an abundance of players who are quality in possession of the football. No question.
Here's one of them, Gainrich out to Karpenko. Maybe another chance here for Uzbekistan. Japarov making the run in the centre of the park. Uzbekistan couldn't find him. Instead it's Son Heung-min on the charge. Held up by Kapadze. This is Akhmedov. The meat in the sandwich. Alexander Gainrich, though, and he really has led from the front, hasn't he? He's one of the most experienced players in the Uzbekistan side. And he's almost literally lifted them up by the bootlaces.
Yeah, well, there's a match winner. He was always this tournament shaping up to play that role. Missed him badly. Semi-final day, not quite sure what difference it would have made ultimately, but when Uzbekistan had their moments, particularly in that first half, someone like Gainrich might have swung the balance a little bit more in their favour. He goes having a fine time of it against Viktor Karpenko, really enjoying himself. He's supposed to attack in the left-wing position.
Maybe he fancies a goal to round off his international career. There he is, 33 years of age. Super servant of Korean football, played for some big clubs in his time as well. PSV Eindhoven, Tottenham, Borussia Dortmund. Currently, of course, turning across just down the road from here in Saudi Arabia with Al Hilal. The South Korean international, no more after this evening. Feels it's time for the next generation.
That's terrific pressure from Uzbekistan. Read the moment. Now they're asking the Korean Republic if they're good enough to play out. The answer is no.
substitute being readied by Uzbekistan. Will be on presently. Meantime, Karpenko charged down by the young Go. Sunov. Haydarov looking for Japarov, but anticipated by Lee Young-gyo.
The other thing I have to say, Simon, is the lack of energy with which Korea are spraying out of their own defence is becoming more and more apparent.
Well, they've had those two tough games, haven't they, that have gone the full distance, extra time. So maybe the legs are a little bit heavy. Mistake by Akhmedov.
Just 2 days to recover between each of those significant physical exertions. Still they lead, 3 goals to 2.
And we've got just over a quarter of an hour left to play here at Al Sadd. There's Akhmedov. Feeding Andreev. Too much on that for Gainrich. Yoon Bitgaram for South Korea. Haydarov, who's barely missed a tackle in the second half. Gainrich. Tursunov. Karpenko. An awkward take for Makarov. But South Korea just really playing on the counter-attack now.
Well, they are. It's up to the 2 freshmen. Both come off the bench. Yoon Bitgaram and Son Heung-min. They haven't really figured in this tournament, of course, apart from the key goal that Yoon Bitgaram scored in quarter-final against Iran. But they're defending with everyone else and just leaving those 2 to try and chase something down. A little bit ragged for the Taegun Warriors.
They've given it away again, although it's won back by Son Heung-min, who's got an injury in the process. It's a good burst through midfield from Ki Sung-yong. He was having his jersey tugged as well, I think, but free kick's gone the other way.
Ridiculous.
And here's the change for Uzbekistan. Karov off, and Salamov on in his stead.
Substitution for Uzbekistan, player number 30, Malik has been replaced by player number 10, Shavkat Salomon. تغيير لصالح منتخب أوزبكستان، خروج اللعبة من 13 موليك دومكالوف يحل محله لاعب 10 شافكات سالمون.
South Korea going to make a change of their own, surely. You might not be surprised to hear that this defender, Kwak Tae-hui, who's been summoned by Cho Kwang-rae. Salamov is normally a right-sided midfielder, but here he is, playing a more central role. Those are tournament stats, by the way, not just game stats, otherwise, blimey, he would be a freak, wouldn't he? 62 kilometres. Gainrich. Charduri up towards halfway. Ji Dong-won trying to use his strength to hold off Akhmedov, and here's the change for South Korea. Hong Jong-ho will be withdrawn in favour of Kwak Tae-hui. Done a good job in midfield, Hong Jong-ho. And there's the new man, Quack, who, of course, received the red cards against Bahrain in the first game of the tournament. I don't think he's featured since.
That substitution moves Rayyan into the centre of midfield, back with Ki Sung-hyun. 6 and 16, they've been two excellent foundations for the Korean Republic.
That's well played out of defence by Uzbekistan. They've really been a different proposition second half. Tiredness has probably helped. A lot of the South Koreans. Gainrick has sprung the offside trap. Japarov waiting in the middle, but Biggis couldn't cross it aerially. They win it back though. Good perseverance from the new man Salamov. Fraction over 10 minutes to go. Still Uzbekistan push and probe, looking for this equaliser, which would cap a remarkable comeback from 3 goals down. They were dead and buried really in the first half.
Worse than that. If you can be in worse shape than that, they were a pale imitation of a football team, let alone one representing their country. Total turnaround in the second half.
Gainrick there has done as much as anybody to force the turnaround. Karpenko's cross, away by Hwang. Back in by Akhmedov. Yunbit Garam can't control it and commits the foul on Andreev. Easy decision for the referee. Karpenko finds Salamov. Lots of red jerseys around him. Not many offers of help from teammates. He is again. Karpenko wants to shoot, but he slips just at the vital moment. And Vadim Abramov, I can tell you, is absolutely apoplectic in the technical zone.
Well, he'll be much happier with his second half. His team has restored a lot of pride. It's a key discussion point. We have made it, but we shouldn't lose sight of the fact that Korean Republic are out on their feet at the moment. It's been an unbelievable playing schedule from them. Under enormous pressure. Quarter-final against Iran to 120 minutes. Semi-final against Japan to 120 minutes, then penalties, with 2 days rest in between. Showing all the signs of a football team that's struggled with that workload. Very understandable, and that's enabled a re-energised and reorganised Uzbekistan to mount this comeback. The Korean Republic have barely been out of their own half in this second half.
Hui into the channel, looking for Ji Dong-won. It has almost literally been the proverbial game of two halves.
For all the dominance of Uzbekistan and the comeback from them, Sung-hyun hadn't really had to make a save. He's just had to pick the ball out of the net once from Gainrick. Superb finish. That register, the Korean Republic did hit the post, let's not forget. Ji Dong-won with that beautiful effort with his right foot in this second half. Could have made it 4-2.
South Korea, that is. You sense, Andy, are a bit like a marathon runner in the final straights. And they're just sort of straggling towards the finish line.
Don't you ever. Very tight outfit. Uzbekistan still, for all their possession, struggling to threaten the goal of the Korean Republic.
Maybe they will do here. Put the game to bed once and for all. Ki Sung-young to deliver. 6 minutes to go. One by Malajanov. Gainrich. Beautiful skill. Just too much on the pass. He's a super footballer, isn't he, Alexander Gainrich? He's got all the skills in his locker. Here's Salamov. He's on his own. Doesn't need anybody else. Still Salamov. And then he tumbles very theatrically to the ground, and he's going to get a yellow card for that, and rightly so. That was a dreadful dive. Well done, referee.
Well, he ran out of space and he ran out of avenues towards goal.
But he didn't run out of ideas.
The last one left forward.
Well, he was almost appealing for it before there was any contact.
Well, there was contact, actually. Referees, I mean, it's one thing to do that, give cards for diving, give penalties, etc. in third, fourth playoff matches, but there's been a number of instances in this Asian Cup where referees haven't backed themselves in those decisions. Was there contact? Yes, should be a penalty. Was there no contact? No, should be a dive. There's been 3 or 4 that come to mind.
Well, there we go. And it's not often that South Korea are outpassed in a game. At least at Asian level.
No, exactly right. I think it's marking exactly where this game is at and the lead up to it. That's a sanctionable offence, yellow card from Malajanov.
Yeah, it was a bit of an ugly challenge that from Malajanov. Thankfully, no damage done to the Korean player, Son Heung-min. And Uzbekistan are going to make another change here. Viktor Karpenko, the defender, is going to be sacrificed, and in his stead, Hasanov, the flying left winger, will be thrown on. Perhaps the final gamble by Vadim Abramov to try and pull this game back to 3-all. Here's the new man's first touch. It was a heavy one too. Yeah, they're giving it away, Uzbekistan. Just won't fall for Yubik Garam. There are some very tired players out there on both teams. Ji Dong-won. Have the Koreans done enough? Minutes left of normal time. Salamov. Salamov wasn't really looking. Space here for Ji Dong-won. Does Son Heung-min have the pace to get there? Andreev getting it back to his goalkeeper. Starting to run out of time here, the White Wolves. The Korean fans on their feet. Perhaps they believe their team has earned that consolation prize. Not quite. Tursunov. Gainrich. Sturdy challenge from Kwak Tae-gui. Fair one. This is Son Heung-min. Being coached every step of the way by Cho Kwang-rae. This is Cha Do-ri. He was held back by Gainrich. And I think Abdul Malik is going to book Gainrich for that.
Well, it's an impressive final effort from Cha Do-ri, if indeed it is to be a final effort. Just a minute plus stoppages now. For Korea Republic will be crowned third place. Alexander Gainrich wasn't going any further, nor was Cha Do-ri to clear the card. No complaints with this free kick to be taken deep in the right-hand side for the Korea Republic. End up as a cross into the box or a short one to the corner flag. My tip's the latter.
You're right, Andy, as usual. Ki Sung-young might make something of it still. We're into injury time, of which there's going to be 3 minutes. Lee Jung-soo. Into the channel for Ji Dong-won. Being pursued and harassed by Haydarov. And eventually fouled by Haydarov. More vital seconds wasted. Ki Sung-young says, if you want it, come and get it. South Korea have the ball exactly where they want it. Uzbekistan have the throw-in, and they need to get up the other end pretty sharpish. It's a good ball from Akhmedov. Is there one final chance for Uzbekistan, but they've given it away through Haydarov. Ki Sung-young to Lee Young-pyo. Back they go towards the corner as if they're attracted there like a magnet. Still he goes, and it'll be a goal kick. But that's good play by the veteran, just ran down the clock.
He'd asked the question why a free kick wasn't forthcoming. Had a good case, I thought. Referee's decision.
1 minute to go. Uzbekistan fans urging their team forwards. At least they've restored some pride in the second half. They've really fought well. Haydarov. Just be that.
In these final minutes, Korea Republic mustering their final reserves of energy to ensure that Uzbekistan can't get out of their own half. Direct qualification for Australia 2015 should be the prize for the Korea Republic. Uzbekistan are going to have to take the long route for the next Asian Cup.
His final act in international football is to pick up a yellow card. Not perhaps quite the epitaph he had in mind, but he's had a good tournament. And South Korea have had a good tournament. Uzbekistan too, but the Koreans it is who claim third for the third time in 4 tournaments and grab the consolation prize of not having to qualify for 2015. Uzbekistan must do it the hard way. South Korea win the third, fourth place playoff game by 3 goals to 2. Well, Lee Young-pyo and Park Ji-sung go out as winners, and probably, even despite Uzbekistan's efforts, and they were plenty good enough in the second half, Andy Harper, it was probably the right result.
Yeah, look, the sting was taken out of Uzbekistan by Australia in the semi-final. I don't think that's an unreasonable thing to suggest. They were awful again here in the first half. Korea hit them for 3, but then Gainrich's penalty right on half-time brought them into the equation.
I think there are a few tears from Alexander Gainrich. I wonder if it's maybe something to do with imminent retirement. Shouldn't be, he's only 26. Maybe he just feels very hard done by after having worked so hard. And he did work hard, he was terrific.
They came back nicely in the second half. Coach Vadim Abramov has had a good tournament, he's a good coach. He has been a shell of a human being walking around the hotel the last couple of days, Simon. It's so hard to take the manner in which they lost that semi-final, but for the second half here they managed to concert their effort. They're up against a Korean Republic team so well coached by Cho Kwang-rae, but so visibly tired in this game, and they just managed to hang on in the end. For all of Uzbekistan's better second half, they could only muster that second goal. Otherwise, they didn't threaten the goal of the Korean Republic. Probably a fair result in the end. And I think it's also fitting that we're going to have the best 3 teams in Asia finish 1, 2, 3 in the tournament.
Yeah, South Korea certainly wouldn't have disgraced themselves in the final, that's for sure. And that's a nice touch. Lee Yong-pyo, who retires from international football today, gets the applause and the piggyback rides on one of his teammates. And the Korean fans salute him and Park Ji-sung.
Well, I think they're calling for Park Ji-sung
and
now.
rightly so, rightly so. Because they both had terrific international careers. And they deserve their moments. There is Park. He's not keen to go over and join in, is he? A smile and a handshake between Vadim Abramov and Cho Kwang-rae. And now Park will come over and take his bow. He's a shy character,
well,
Park Ji-sung.
It's a measure of the man. He wasn't going to go without the whole squad being there. But an outstanding representative of not just South Korean football, but the entire country of the Korean Republic. Just an outstanding citizen.
In fact, the entire region of Asia.
Indeed. He's one of which, and of whom, we can all be very proud. His compatriots in particular, he has been outstanding in this tournament, an outstanding career. Not wanting to take centre stage at all, which is a measure of grace that falls upon all the greats.
We're back in World Cup 2002, aren't we? With Gus Hiddink being given the bumps, or whatever they call it in Korea. Here we go, here's Park Ji-sung's turn. Lovely moments, lovely pictures.
He lost his Dax in the main. Yeah, well done. The applause to you, Park Ji-sung. A non-playing member of the squad today, but the ultimate captain.
Well, as this is all going on, the stage is being assembled in the background so that the South Korean side can be presented with their bronze medals. I'm sure it's a gold medal that Park Ji-sung and Lee Yong-pyo would have preferred as an epitaph to their international careers, but bronze will have to do. And the man of the match has been named. He's Ji Dong-won, the South Korean striker, got 2 goals today. He's had a super tournament, destined for bigger things. Well done to him and to South Korea. They finished 3rd. They qualify automatically for 2015.
Test 1, 2, 3 하나 둘. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, go ahead.
자, 오늘 뭐 쉬운 경기가 될 뻔하다 좀 어려운 경기가 됐는데 오늘 경기 총평부터 좀 부탁드립니다.
네, 뭐 우리 선수들 뭐 3, 4인이 상당히 어려운 경기입니다. 그런데 전반전에는 아주 좋은 플레이를 했는데 체력이 떨어지면서 후반전에 상당히 좀 어려운 경기를 한 것 같습니다. 그렇지만 우리 선수들 마지막까지 그걸 잘 지키면서 3위에 올랐던 뭐 그런 부분에 대해서 정말 우리 선수를 칭찬하고 싶습니다.
네, 이번 대회 유정의 미를 거둔 것 같은데 성적을 떠나서 내용적인 면에서 감독님께서 소득이라고 생각하는 점이 있다면 좀 어떤 게 좀 있습니까?
네, 뭐 결과는 팬들한테 좀 아쉬운 점이 있지만은 뭐 우리 선수들이 이번 아시안컵을 통해서 한국 축구를 더 변화시킬 수 있는 그런 걸 큰 걸 얻었다고 저는 생각하고 있습니다. 뭐 좀 더 미드필더 플레이를 세밀하고 좀 더 스피드하면서 조직적인 그런 플레이를 먼저 갖춘다면 뭐 더 한 단계 높은 다른 축구를 또 할 수 있는 그런 계기를 만들 수 있다고 봅니다.
이제 이영표 박지성 선수가 떠나지 않습니까? 이제
네.
그 공백을 메우는 것도 앞으로 대표팀의 숙제일 것 같은데 어떻습니까?
네, 뭐 상당히 아쉬운 점이 많습니다. 그리고 뭐 걱정도 됩니다. 그렇지만 뭐 우리 또 젊은 선수들이 지금 열심히 하고 있고 또 좋은 선수들이 많이 배출되기 때문에 국내 K리그에서 좀 더 많은 선수들을 뭐 체크해서 또 이영표 선수나 박지성 선수를 대타할 수 있는 선수를 발굴해야 되는 게 뭐 제 또 임무라고 생각합니다.
네, 감사합니다. 수고하셨습니다. 네.
Please welcome to the field of play the dignitaries and delegates from the AFC, from the Asian Football Confederation for the presentation of trophies to the players. السيدات والسادة، لقد قمنا للتو بمتابعة مباراة تحديد المركزين الثالث والرابع ضمن كأس آسيا قطر 2011 هنا باستاد السد بمدينة الدوحة. الرجاء الترحيب بكبار الشخصيات والوفود من الاتحاد الآسيوي لكرة القدم على أرض ميدان اللعب، وذلك لتقديم الميداليات للاعبين. The AFC President سعادة رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي لكرة القدم His Excellency محمد بن همام and AFC Vice President نائب رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي لكرة القدم Mr. Ganesh Thaba. Ladies and gentlemen, we have witnessed a great match between Uzbekistan and Korea Republic this evening. السيدات والسادة، لقد استمتعنا هذا المساء بمتابعة مباراة عظيمة بين منتخبي أوزبكستان والجمهورية الكورية الجنوبية. Please welcome Mr. Ganesh Thaba, AFC Vice President, to present the third place award. رجاء الترحيب بالسيد جانش ثابة، نائب رئيس الاتحاد الآسيوي لكرة القدم، لتقديم جائزة المنتخب الفائز بالمركز الثالث. And the third place award will be presented to Korea Republic. ستقدم جائزة المركز الثالث لمنتخب الجمهورية الكورية الجنوبية.
Don't know to move, not to move. But
on behalf of Asian Football Confederation, the local organizing committee for AFC Asian Cup Qatar 2011, we would like to thank everyone for your efforts.
This is a really good strong run from Lee Yong-rae. He's managed to get it through too. Here is Kujachol, one-on-one, and he scores!
a clinical finish from Ku Jia Chol. Defence into attack, blink of an eye. Continue to invite the Korean Republic onto them, already chasing a 2-goal deficit.
G-Dog.
Best resistance getting into the penalty area. The turnovers are cheap. I mean, that's leap and score. Now he is outstanding. Make no mistake about it.
Threatening to threaten, if I could put it that way. And they've got a chance now because they've got a penalty kick. Novkarov.
Well, not surprisingly, this opportunity has come from their best period of sustained attack.
Take two. On the score.
One flashy, the other conventional. Gavin giving his team some sort